Is your dev career actually cooked by the age of 35? Today we'll dive into one of the hottest articles in the past week. Software engineering may no longer be a lifetime career. This is one of the biggest clickbaits I've read in a while, and let's dive into it, read it together. I don't think there is compelling evidence that using AI makes you less intelligent overall. So Sean decides to dive right into the heart of the debate of AI versus not AI and whether it actually makes us dumber or not. And then it follows, however, it seems pretty obvious that using AI to perform a task means you don't learn as much about performing the task. Some software engineers think this is a decisive argument against the use of AI. And I think I can definitely relate to the fact that you don't learn as much when you talk about code level, right? Syntax, remembering everything, navigating through the code base, all the nuances we put there. But I think we just learn on a higher level, especially depending on how you use AI. If you challenge the decisions, if you make it explain itself, why it decided to go this way versus another and so on. So you learn on a higher level. You learn on an architectural, on decision-making level rather than code level. And I think this is something many developers miss at the moment. And he goes and say, okay, let's assume that AI makes us all dumber. Really something that should stop us from using AI. Let's see why he says this is a bad argument. So until around 24, the best way to learn how to do software engineering was just doing software engineering. That was really lucky for us. It meant that we could parlay a coding hobby into a lucrative career. And that the people who really liked the work would just get better and better over time. However, that was never a immutable fact of what software engineering is. It was just fortunate coincidence. It would really suck for software engineers if using AI made us worse at our jobs in the long term. But we might still be obliged to use it if it provided enough short-term benefits. For the same reason that construction workers are obliged to lift heavy objects, because that's what they're being paid to do. And I think back to this, that engineers were lucky to be able to go from coding hobby into lucrative career is still true. But what it means to code is actually changing, and maybe ones who refuse to go full-on AI and they still want to do everything by hand and so on, they will have their place, they can still do it as their hobby and so on. People who actually embrace it, who actually use AI even as their hobby, even to build their side projects and everything, they will get better over time. And they will get the luxury of going to a lucrative career, earning more, getting promoted. I think this is still true, but software engineering is changing, and we have to embrace that. Or we can be left behind, and this is also okay. It's a personal opinion. So he goes on and says, if you work in construction, you need to lift and carry a series of heavy objects in order to be effective. But lifting heavy objects put long-term wear on your back and joints, making you less effective over time. Construction workers don't say that being a good construction worker means not lifting heavy objects. They say, too bad, that's the job. I think analogy doesn't fit very well. It really depends how you lift the heavy objects. You can lift them for a long time without having impact on your back and joints. So this is a little bit just like some sort of manipulation in the analogy, but okay, let's continue with that. If AI does turn out to make you dumber, why can't we just keep writing code by hand? You can, you just might not be able to earn a salary doing so, for the same reason that there aren't many jobs out there for carpenters who refuse to use power tools. If the models are good enough, you'll simply get outcompeted by engineers willing to trade their long-term cognitive ability for a short-term lucrative career. And this is exactly what I said. Like, whoever wants to keep writing code by hand, they are more than happy to do so, but probably the employer won't like it, so they'll have to do it on their free time. Actually, would want to make money out of software engineering, then you definitely have to embrace AI. You definitely have to embrace AI and be better with that over time, even though if you don't like it. And just like Sean said before, lucky that I loved writing code and had to do it in our job, but now it's changing. So even if we don't like it, we still have to use AI in order to keep earning the money. I hope that this isn't true, and it would really be unfortunate for software engineers, but it would even be more unfortunate if it were true and we refuse to acknowledge it. And this is where it gets a little bit more messy in terms of the analogies. The career of a pro athlete has a maximum lifespan of around 15 years. You have the opportunity to make a lot of money until around your mid-30s, at which point your body just can't keep up. A common tragic figure today is the professional athlete who believes the show will go on forever and doesn't prepare for the day they can't do it anymore. We may be in the first generation of software engineers in the same position. If so, it's probably a good idea to plan accordingly. And I think, this is like a messed up analogy because athletes' lifespan is just biology. Like, it's not something that they are doing wrong, or not the fact that like running or doing their athlete work. It's just biology that over time their skills will demolish and their body will not be able to perform as much as it performed before. So I would just ignore all this together because here we are talking about software engineering. The fact that we are doing software engineering impacts our skills and impacts our cognitive ability and degrades us over time, and this is definitely not the same as pro athlete. And lastly, he mentions that the post was exploded on Hacker News and got a lot of comments, and even well-known people like Simon replied to him. And Simon's comment is very interesting because this is how he started this post. Basically, he said this is such a misleading title. The post isn't about software engineering not being a lifetime career, and he's right. Like, this is such a clickbaity title, and here on Daily Dev we also got a lot of feedback about it and discussion around like, yeah, software engineering is like still valid, it's just changing. Other comments on Daily Dev mentioned that senior devs with rich experience are pretty safe. The senior devs have real experience on the ground, managing systems, dealing with incidents, knowing the principles, knowing how to upload stuff, how to debug, and so on. The fact that they no longer write code doesn't matter. It's still the same process. Just the fact that someone else writes the code, then this is fine. Like, it's just different implementation for it, but everything else stays the same. And we have to make sure we keep an eye on the junior devs. I agree about that. Like, junior devs will have hard time to get into the field. They'll need to still do things they still need to do things themselves like they needed before. Just now they need to do it with AI versus writing code themselves. So if I were a junior right now, I would embrace AI as much as I can, be super bullish on AI, try to perfect every workflow, every tool to know the ins and outs. And I think this will pay dividends in the very short term, and they will be able to even outgrow some of the senior engineers that are refusing and are refusing to embrace AI and are left behind. Overall, I think this is a great read and highly recommend it. It touches a lot of soft spots in software engineering. I think many of us are refusing to accept what's coming or just don't like what's coming, but they probably don't have any choice. And yes, maybe Sean could have chosen a better title, but overall, it's on point and I really like it.